Good morning, Chavirim. Masechet Pessachim. We are today in Daf Ayin Zayin Amoud Bet. I need to recap and give a few important akdamot. Don't miss them in order to understand the shir today. One thing is, we're talking about, there are two types of there's what's called the zevach and what's called the mincha. A zevach is a korban. A korban. The korban has three elements on it. One is the blood, one is the emurim, and one is the achina of the ben adam. Blood is what we sprinkle on the mizbeach. Then there's fats that go on the mizbeach in the well that are burnt on. Two different types of things. And then there's what either the kohen or the owner is allowed to eat, different parts of the different parts of it. So far, so good. There's a second thing which is called the mincha. A mincha is a flour offering. A flour offering many times was bought as a bowl of flour, and you do a kimitzah of it. We take some and we throw that on the mizbeach as well. This kimitzah, a little scoop, we do a scoop. It's called kimitzah because we use the fingers with the kimitzah. We do a scoop of the flour, and we. This is the zeret, this is the kimitzah, this is the hama, and this is the atzba, and this is the agudah. So the kimitzah, we take the two like this, if I'm not mistaken. We take it and we throw it three. Right, these two. Bijuk. So then we throw it out. We throw it into mizbech. Now, what this is exactly? It's the same as the blood. It is the same as the blood. There's no other meat. The blood is equated to the flour that's being thrown on. Very good. Yeah. Then there's something else, which is the lechem apanim. This is the lechem apanim. The lechem apanim is put on the table, the show table. And there's nothing given to the mizbeach. Everything is eaten completely by the kohanim. Three separate things. There is a concept of tumah. There could be a concept of tumah where we are getting trouble to bring the korban. Are you allowed to bring the korban? Well, it depends. If it's a private individual korban, you cannot bring it. If it's a communal korban, you can bring it, says our Mishnah. Just you can't eat it, stage number 3. Blood, emurin, and then the eating of the ben adam. Okay, remember those 3 things. When it is tameh, you're allowed to bring it. And then the Gemara goes wants to figure out what exactly we're talking about. When you're allowed to a communal korban to bring it and not eat it, is that called that the tuma is dechuya or the tuma is hutra? Is it pushed aside but still there? Just we let you, we're going to let you do it because we're forced to let you do it, or is it completely canceled out and there's no more halacha of tuma? Meaning we don't care if it's tameh. And what's the nafkamina? So 3 nafkamina that I saw. One is, let's say today the Cohen working is Mr. John Cohen. Okay, that's his family. But another Cohen became tameh. So he can't work now. So he's tameh, but the korban needs to be brought. Is tuma utra? So if it's utra, so just let him bring it. Doesn't make a difference. Or do we say, listen, you're tameh. Sorry, you can't work today. We're going to give it to somebody else to bring. That's if it's pushed off. And if there's nobody else, only you, we're going to let you bring a bit tuma. We're going to try.
No, but utra betzibur, it's when everybody is tameh. So it's ultra betzibur.
For example,
but if everybody is tau and this guy became tameh, so you can do the
yeah. But let's yes, you're right. But let's say, for example, everybody's tameh, but not everybody. But we're allowed to bring the korban. Let's say the tamid of today, it has to be brought. Everybody's tameh, we're allowed to bring it, but not everybody's tameh. It could be a few individuals. So we come to the kohen. Okay, all the kohanim are tameh, so bring it. But if there's one kohen that's not tameh, we're going to make him bring it. Another example. Now everybody's tameh, but you're tameh. This guy's tameh with sheni, and this guy's tameh arishon. So are we allowed to? Should we go for the lesser amount? Because you're going to make it an av, and you're going to, for example, he's an av and he's a rishon. He's going to make it a sheni. He's going to make it an av. Are we allowed to go for the ultimate tumah because it doesn't matter, it's canceled, or save whatever you can save? That's called dichuya. One more thing is that any time that there was an accidental bringing of a korban in a state of impurity, that's when we have what is called the tzitz, and the tzitz was mechaper. The tzitz actually allowed this amazing thing that even though it was tameh, the avon, who's holding that avera, who's suspending it? The kohen. The kohen got it with the tzitz. So if Tuma is cancelled, you don't need a tzitz. And if Tuma is not cancelled, you need the tzitz. That's so far what we said yesterday. So it's not so hard at all. Now, one more thing to know, it's a machloket, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. How does the tzitz work? For sure, the tzitz will not let you eat the animal. You're not allowed to eat in a state of impurity. But the thing is, do we allow you to bring the meat on, or we do not allow you to bring the meat on? For example, the tzitz definitely works for the blood. But does the tzitz work also for what's called achila? And that's why it's memuban. Because it seems all the same thing, but it's not at all the same thing. Does it work for achila of the mizbeach? Can the mizbeach eat the meat? So, John, you with me so far? No?
I'm going to grab what I can grab.
Okay, can the mizbeach eat the meat? Yes or no? That's a machloket. Rabbi Eliezer says no. Rabbi Eliezer says yes. And Rabbi Yeshua says no. So I want to repeat it one more time. It's actually pretty simple like this. A korban is dechuya. Tuma is pushed off. We try to save whatever we can. That's the halacha. Second is that we need the tzitz. How does the tzitz work? It works for sure to bring the blood. But can you also bring the meat? Rabbi Eliezer says yes, and Rabbi Yeshua says no. Okay? There's one more machloket. Are you allowed in general to bring, as a korban kosher, if you bring just the blood without the meat? Are you allowed? In general case, if a guy just brought the blood and he lost the animal, he ran away, or it got burnt, or it's tameh, did he still get his mitzvah, or did he not get his mitzvah? Mordechai is bringing a korban shlamim. You have to sprinkle the blood, and you have to bring the fats. You sprinkle the blood, the Kohen for you, but the fats got lost. Where are they? I don't know where they are. A rat got them, took them. So do we say that you're allowed to take the meat? You still get your mitzvah, or you don't get your mitzvah, you start again? Rabbi Eliezer says, yeah, the blood is enough. You don't need to bring the meat on this beyach. But according to Rabbi Yeshua, if you didn't bring the meat, if you didn't bring the meat, then there's no blood. Your blood doesn't count.
A package deal. Right?
It's a package deal. Rabbi Eliezer says yes. So we're going to discuss this right now to understand what that means. But then once we finish this step, we're going to go back to our Mishnah. I'm going to tell you right now from the get-go. Our Mishnah said you're allowed to bring a korban. That is when the whole community is in a state of tumah. And the reason why you're allowed to bring the korban, because tumah is dechuya. But you need the tzitz, and the tzitz only works for the blood, not for the meat, according to Rabbi Yeshua. The only one that lets it is Rabbi Eliezer. And also, Rabbi Yeshua says, if you don't have the meat, you don't have the blood. So it turns out, according to the Gemara is saying, our Mishnah cannot be Rabbi Yeshua. Because our Mishnah is saying it's kosher, even though the meat never got on the Mizbeach. Practical example, the whole community has to bring a korban. It's a Yom Tov, there's a shlamim to bring for Shavuot, for example. The whole community is tameh, they're allowed to bring it. Are they allowed to sprinkle the blood? They're allowed to sprinkle the blood. Are they allowed to bring the meat? Well, Rabbi Eliezer says you're allowed to bring the meat. And even if you don't bring the meat, it's still kosher. Whether the meat got tameh, whether you lost the meat, your korban's still good. Our Mishnah must be Rabbi Eliezer. Our Mishnah can't be Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua says two things. The blood, the tzitz does not allow you to bring the meat, to burn it. And also, if you don't bring the meat, well, it's not a valid korban, so it's not kosher. Now, we're just going to analyze that third part over here, which is the pasuk that tells us, in general, if you bring the meat without the blood, or the blood without the meat, it is a kosher or not. So we're just going to go, we're going to look in that pasuk together. We're going to go through it. This is not so hard. Look what it says, the pasuk at the bottom of the page, on Ein Zayin, pasuk Vav in Torah O. Oh, my mistake. It's not pasuk Vav. It's pasuk Hey. Do you see it in Torah? V'asita olatecha. You will bring an olah. Habasar vehadam. See that? See it, John?
For me, it's not it. Okay.
Okay. Habasar vehadam. You got to bring the meat on the mizbeach, and you got to bring the blood on the mizbeach. Hashem Elokecha. V'dam zevachecha yishapech. And you need to pour the blood on the mizbeach. That seems redundant. On mizbeach Hashem Elokecha. V'abasar tochen. And you eat the meat. So we have in this pasuk two things. We have once it says Adam ve'abasar, habasar ve'adam. It says, and note the order: meat and blood. And it also says, then you will spill the blood. You're going to bring the meat and the blood. You're going to spill the blood and you eat the meat. How do we do with that? So we said yesterday that Rabbi Yeshua says on this pasuk, look, it says dam and basar, basar and dam. That means if you have one without the other, it is not kosher. You need to have the basar and the dam, and you have to have the dam and the basar. So if your animal got lost, if the meat got lost, or the meat became tameh, you didn't get a mitzvah. That's the way that Rabbi Eliezer, that's the way that Rabbi Yeshua learns. Good? Rabbi Eliezer said on this, no. You see that the pasuk says, Hadam yishapech, dam zevachecha yishapech. You can actually pour the blood. So it just, once you pour the blood, you're kosher. What do you do with a dam ve'abasar? The dam and the basar are connected for another halacha. The same way you have to throw the blood on the mizbeach, you have to throw the meat on the mizbeach. How do you throw the meat? You walk up to the top. There's a ramp over there. There's a little space between the altar and the ramp. You take the meat, you throw it on the ramp, and you're good to go. So that's how Rabbi Yeshua. Again, how does Rabbi Yeshua learn this pasuk? So that's Rabbi Eliezer. How does Rabbi Eliezer? Hadam ve'abasar ve'adam. You got to throw them together. And what do we do with dam zevachecha yishapech? You pour the blood. You pour the blood. So even pouring the blood gets you your mitzvah. You don't have to do anything else. Rabbi Yeshua didn't say that. Rabbi Yeshua said that dam be'asar. If you have dam, you have basar. If you have basar, you have dam. We're at the very bottom of the page, Ein Zayin. That was a big hakdama. But it's going to help us get through the whole page. The Rabbi Yeshua at the bottom of the page says, last two lines says, Nami, haketiv dam zebachecha yishapech. Well, there is a pasuk for Rabbi Yeshua that says you got to spill the blood. So if you're spilling the blood sounds kosher, spilling the blood sounds enough. Amar licha haketiv gabe, Rabbi Yeshua says, no, look at the end of the pasuk. V'abasar tochen. Let's look again at the pasuk. The middle of it says, V'asita oratecha habasar ve'adam. That means you got to do them both. If you have one without the other, for Rabbi Yeshua. Then it says, V'dam zevachecha yishapech. You pour the blood. And then it says, at the end, V'abasar tochen. You got to eat the blood. So you see, blood. It says blood and meat. Blood and meat, blood and meat. So it says blood and meat. So even though it says spilling the blood, that's not isolated. It's not individual. It's to tell you, it only works if you eat the meat. Again, if you bring your korban and you put the blood and you lost the meat, you don't get a mitzvah of Rabbi Yeshua. Because the pasuk says, basar dam, and then it says dam basar. It says twice, they're together. These two are together, these two are together. The Gemara asks, Vehane tre kare lamali. Why does it need to say twice? For Rabbi Yeshua, the pasuk says basar and dam, and then it says dam and basar. Why does it need to say twice? Chad be'olah v'chad b'shlamim. It's talking about two different types of korbanos. If you look at the pasuk again, v'asita olatecha. That's the first one, abasar v'dam. So an oila has to have blood and meat together. Al mizbeach Hashem Elokecha, and then it says v'zav dam. An mizbeach Hashem Elokecha v'dam zebachecha. The zebachecha is the shlamim. Two different types of korbanos. So the Gemara says utzricha di'i katab rachmana be'ola habamina olahu dechamira sheken kalin. Now, what we would be, if it would only say it once, we would be very strict on an oila. Because an oila has a stringency in the fact that it's completely burnt. It's all for God. It's all burnt on the mizbeach. So you would have thought, if the Torah tells you dam, basar, and dam, only in ola I need both. But in shlamim, I'm good to go with blood. Why would I put stringency? Why would I make that deduction? Because the blood, because the ola has a property, has a quality that it's completely for God. The shlamim you're allowed to eat, so we'll be lenient. That's what you would have thought. That's why we teach also shlamim. Ava shlamim derochim chamira emalo. Ve'i katav rachmana shlamim hava amina adiraba. De'it be'ushtei achilot. Aval oina deleit be'shtei achilot emalo. Kamashmanan. And if I teach only shlamim, you'll make the opposite mistake. If I teach only shlamim needs both the blood and the meat, you might think, yeah, because it's eaten by two people. It's eaten by God and by man, so we're going to be more machmir. But if it's only one achila, only one party is eating it, even if it's Hashem, we would be lenient. That's why you need both. I'll repeat this. The pasuk says, you're going to go to bring your korban, Vasita olatecha basar dam. There are three components. Remember I told you? There is the blood, there is the basar, that's for the mizbeach, that's called achila of Hashem, and then there is the eating of the man. The eating of the man of the korban, eating the man of the korban. Eating the man of the korban, you're not eating it, you're tummy. But do you need both of these two to be yoitze, or you don't need? Blood and meat, or just one or the other? Rabbi Eliezer says one is enough. So as long as you did the blood is the main thing, because the blood is the kapara. Emorim is the pieces of meat.
Which one?
The fats and all that stuff.
On
the mizbeach. So once you got the blood, which is the expiation, which is the kapara, you're good, says Rabbi Eliezer. And we'll see it in the Pessachim well. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, didn't you read the pasuk? It says, dam v'abasar. And then it says afterwards, zevachecha, it says in oila. Then it says zevachecha, basar v'dam, dam basar. It says twice, to tell you twice. For an oila, you need the blood and the meat. And for a shlamim, you need the blood and the meat. Why does it say twice? Because you would not logically deduct one from the other. Where would you run into a mistake? Say, if the Torah only tells you ola, yeah, we need both for the oila because it's completely for Hashem. But for the shlamim, we'll be lenient if it doesn't say twice. So we write shlamim, so just write shlamim. Shlamim, you make the same mistake, the opposite way. This is eaten by two parties, the Am Yisrael and Hashem. So we're more machmir. If it's eaten only by one party, Hashem, we'll be lenient. We teach both. That's Shitat Rabbi Yeshua, that blood and meat need to get on the mizbeach. The Gemara asks, what do we do for Rabbi Eliezer? The Gemara says, "V'Rabbi Eliezer nami aketi v'abasar tochen." So what did Rabbi Eliezer do with basar and dam at the beginning? He said they both need to be thrown. You throw the blood, you throw the meat. You really throw the meat. You walk up to the mizbeach, and the halacha is you got to throw it in the mizbeach. Don't come and put it down, because the pasuk says basar dam. Whatever exists by dam, throwing, exists by basar. That's what he does. Then he has the second, and you will spill the blood. Dam isha. What does the pasuk say? You're pouring the blood. That's to tell you that's all you need. You only need to pour the blood. Without the meat, you're okay. But the problem is the pasuk says at the end, you eat the meat. Basar tachen. So you see, what do you do with that, Rabbi Eliezer? Answers Rabbi Eliezer. Let me read that again. Rabbi Eliezer, last three words in the line, on maybe the 6th or 7th line. Rabbi Eliezer nami akiti basar tochan. Teacher tochen. Amar licha. Tochen, the last word. Tochen. Amar lichaim mibayena she'en abasar mutar bechila ad shizrok adam. That the meat is only allowed to be eaten after you spill the blood. In general, you shecht your korban. You have a bucket of blood. It has to go in the mizbech. But you have the meat over here. There's a big lineup. There's lineups. So I'm going to do a little barbecue. We're going to eat the meat, and later you throw the blood. No. You're only allowed to eat the meat after the blood was sprinkled on the mizbech. How do we know? As the pasuk says, basar yochel, after you spilled the blood. Adam yishapech, spill the blood, basar tochen, and then eat the meat. So that's what it's used for. So Rabbi Eliezer has, again, basar v'dam at the beginning, to teach you they both need to be thrown. Hadam yishapech, to teach you that all you need to get your checklist to make sure that it's a valid korban is that you spilled the blood. And the last one, basar tocher, is to tell you can only eat the meat after you spilled the blood. But the Gemara says, one second, Iachi, if that's true, ema kula leachi hudeata. We just did two limudim on one pasuk. We just taught you two things with the word adam yishapech, which you're not really supposed to do. We taught you dam yishapech, it's enough alone to spill the blood of the korban. And we also taught you adam yishapech babasar tochen, and you eat the blood second. How can you do two limudim on one pasuk? Maybe all of this pasuk is only telling you the order. You can only eat the meat after you spilled the blood. Dam yishapech babasar tochen. And therefore, we're going to have no other way of giving you a leniency of blood alone is enough to be machshir the korban. So, so that's what it says. Dam afad pi she'en sham basar min alan. How do we know that blood, even though there's no meat, is kosher? Amar licha, okay, this took a while to figure it out. אמר לך, אם כן נכתוב רחמנה, הבשר תאכל, והדר דם זבחיך ישפך, כדכתיב ברישא. Did you notice the order? It says basar dam, then it says dam yishapech, basar tochem. Why did we do blood, meat, blood, and we switch meat, blood, meat? Should be the opposite. Do like you did in the beginning. And don't tell me that you would make a mistake in thinking that if I put meat first and then blood, you're going to think that it's meat and then you can spill the blood. Because the language is dam yishapech. If it would say, this is complicated, but listen well. If the Torah would have said, dam basar tochen, dam yishapech, abasar tochen. That's what it does say, right? That's what it says. If it would say the opposite, basar, dam yishapech, basar tochen, you still won't think that you're allowed to bring the blood after. Huh?
That's what it does.
No, it says dam yishapech basar tochen.
So
If it would say basar tochel dam yishapech, you still won't think you can spill the blood after, because that would not be the proper grammar. The proper grammar, says Rashi, would be dam tishapech, not yishapech. Yishapech doesn't mean yishapech for whatever reason. Rashi says tishapech would have been after you did this. If it says, eat the blood, adam yeshapech, it doesn't sound like you need to do it after. It sounds like you need to do it before. So therefore, we have two limudim in this pasuk. Because that the Torah switched the order of them, and I'll repeat in a second, we should have done it like the Resha. K'tiv b'Resha, asita orotecha habasar ve'adam. Ma'ishna de'agdime nedam zevachecha. Why here did we switch the order that we said the blood first? Shma mina dam afal pi she'en basar. So the two limudim, that the blood is enough, and second, that you have to spill the blood before you can eat the meat. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Shitat Rabbi Shua, how does he learn the whole pasuk? Rabbi Shua, this is Rabbi Eliezer, I'm sorry. Rabbi Eliezer says, the zevach, basar, dam. What is that? You do with that? They both need to be thrown. There's a hekesh. Whatever exists by throwing the blood, you got to throw the meat as well. Good? Dam yishapech. And then it says basar tochen. Two things are learned over here. Because if it would only be teaching one thing, which is one of them, that you got to spill the blood before you eat the meat, it would have said it in a different order. It would have said, like it says in the beginning, basar tochen dam yishapech. If that's the only thing he wants to teach. The fact that it switched the order, so it's actually coming an extra chidush, which is that the blood alone is enough to be yotzei your mitzvah. Shitat Rabbi Eliezer, what we just saw over here, is that it's enough to do only the blood. You don't need also the meat. The Gemara says, so how does Rabbi Yeshua? Now Rabbi Yeshua doesn't do that. What does Rabbi Yeshua do? Rabbi Yeshua says, dam basar, basar dam, and basar and dam, and dam and basar. It's one for an oila, one for a shlamim, that you need always both of them together. One without the other is not working. You need blood and you also need meat. Without the meat going on the mizbech, you have not done your mitzvah.
Does he learn the second Chidush?
Very good. The Gemara just asked that question. The Gemara asked the question. Rabbi Yeshua, en basar mutar b'achidat shizok adam. Where do you learn it from? Kal v'chomehu. It is a kal v'chomer. Emorin dikilitnehu lo me'akvei. Emorim are not emorim. You know, I made a mistake when I told Mary before. Emorim are the leftover limbs that are eaten by nobody. At the end of the night, we bring them on this berg. You know that I'm figuring all this as we go. I didn't learn coaching yet, so it's hard. It's hard because it's also new concepts. All these I didn't know. Masechet Pessachim is full of coaching. We learned. You just learn like Yav Akdamot for Zvachim and all those things. But here, what are we saying? Is you have three things. You have the shechting the korban. You have the blood. I have four things. My mistake. Shechting it. The blood goes in the mizbech. Fats go in the mizbech. Then you eat your part, and the leftover pieces of the animal, those are emorim that go on the mizbech at the end of the night. If you didn't bring emorim, did it cancel out your mitzvah? No. It doesn't cancel your mitzvah. And we see over here, so it's a kal v'chomer. Emorim, the Gemara says, maybe I'm wrong that you have to, maybe you have to bring the emorim before you can eat it. Let's see what it says here. The Gemara says, kal v'chomer. Ma emorim dikilet no me'akve. Ki itneu me'akve. My mistake. The emurim, those limbs need to be brought also before the meat is eating. So if there is emurim, when there is no emurim, I guess there's certain scenarios where there's no emurim. When there is no emurim that need to go on the mizbech, it doesn't prevent you from your mitzvah. When it is here, it prevents you from eating your meat. I'll repeat that again. When there are no emurim, it doesn't cancel out your mitzvah. When there are emurim, you got to bring them before you're allowed to eat your meat.
To follow the order.
Yes. Now, so if that's a kal v'chomer, so there, how much more so? Dam dekilete me'akve. Everybody agrees if there's no blood, there's no mitzvah. So it's me'akev. You don't get your mitzvah without the blood. Ki ite lokol shiken de me'akev. For sure, it was me'akev. You got to bring it first. If the emurim are not me'akev, you got to bring the first. For sure, blood, which is me'akev, you got to bring it first. So Rabbi Eliezer, what do you do with that? Don't you have that kal v'chomer? Yes. Rabbi Eliezer mita de'atya b'kal v'chomer tarach v'katabla. Rabbi Eliezer says, even though certain things, this is a famous concept, we already saw it in our Gemara Daf Yudchet, even though there's something that you could have learned from extrapolation, which is called kal v'chomer, sometimes the Torah goes out of his ways and writes it. So it's not a problem to have something that we could have understood that the Torah writes. I could have figured out, but the Torah writes it anyways. And Rabbi Yeshua also agrees with that. But Rabbi Yeshua says, Rabbi Yeshua, Midrash Darshina. But Rabbi Yeshua says that's true unless there's another chiddush to grab. In other words, Rabbi Eliezer says the Torah will do it even at the expense that we could have used something else with the pasuk. We have something to learn. It's written. We have it in a kal v'chomer. Will the Torah write words for it? Yeah, it will. But if there's another possibility of using the words for something else, the Torah won't write the kal v'chomer in words. It'll just let you have it in theory. It won't write it. So what did we just do till now? We just came out with a little bit of complicated braita, but we came out with the fact that according to Rabbi Eliezer, a mizbeach gets blood without the fats. It's not kosher. Rabbi Eliezer says it is kosher. Let's rewind now to make all the cheshbon. Our Mishnah says korbanot that are tameh can be brought in and you get a mitzvah. Now we said klal number one: tuma is pushed off, not cancelled. So you need a tzitz. If you need a tzitz according to Rabbi Yeshua doesn't work to allow the eating achila, and achila is number 3. I didn't say this before. But now it's a good time to say it. I said there's 3 levels, but I want to tell you the words of Rabbi Yeshua. There is blood, there is the foods on the mizbeach, and the foods on the mizbeach, even though you don't eat them, you get your full mitzvah. I called it achila tana, but it's not the real definition. And then there's achila of the ben adam. So it sounds like when Yeshua said that the tzitz does not let achila, it doesn't let achila of all sorts. There's the achila of man and there's the achila of the mizbeach. With me, Yoni? Mm-hmm. There is achila when I'm going to say this one more time.
What's the tzitz part?
Huh?
What's the tzitz part?
Okay, so maybe you missed the beginning part. But we're speaking about now when korbanot are in a state of impurity, can they be brought? When they're communal korbans, yes. Why is that? We have 2 possibilities. Either we cancel out all the halachot of Tumah, or we just push off the halachot of Tumah, and whatever we can use to save the day, we do. For example, there's everybody's tummy over here, but there's one Kohen not tummy. Can you go ahead and bring it from any Kohen tummy? You got to bring the kosher. Let the pure Kohen bring it. If we say Tumah is canceled when the community is tameh, so let the tameh Kohen bring it. There's no more halachah tumah. If you say it's just pushed off, so bring it by the kosher, by the good, by the pure Kohen. Same thing. He's a rishon. He's an av, so he's gonna make the meat. But everybody's tameh. But he's a rishon. He's an av. So if you're an av and you're gonna touch it, you're gonna make a rishon. But he's a rishon. He's gonna make it a sheni. I'd rather go with him. He's gonna make a sheni. Diminish the amount of severity of the tumah. That's what we hold. There's a third thing that in general, when korbanot are brought by accident in a state of impurity, the tzitz of the Kohen Gadol, which is a forehead plate in gold that was on his forehead, it would give a kapara for all those things. It's like He saved the day that it works. You were impure and it works. Your korban works. Almost to say, from here we see that the tzaddik is a kapara for the city. There's a tzaddik in the city, he's protecting the whole city. And your avodah is accepted, and because he's here, the Kohen has it. It's a funny thing without understanding the concept of the tzaddik. So it works. Okay, so far so good. So now we know that we need the tzitz. For this whole dichuya, okay, it's dichuya, but you still need the tzitz. But what is the tzitz worth for in general? That's why it's complicated. The tzitz works for machloket. Does it work for eating? It works for blood. Does it work for eating or doesn't? Rabbi Eliezer says yes. And Rabbi Yeshua says no. It doesn't work for eating. Second, we know that for Rabbi Yeshua, the korban is not good if there's no eating. If there's no food on the mizbeach, when we say eating, because Rabbi Yeshua says the tzitz doesn't work for eating. Eating at this point means two things. It means you eating, which is stage 3, and it means eating number 2, which is the mizbeach eating. So if it doesn't allow you to eat the tzitz, and we also know that Rabbi Yeshua says a korban without food going on the mizbeach, the fat going on the mizbeach is not a korban. So our Mishnah cannot be Rabbi Yeshua. Our Mishnah must be Rabbi Eliezer, because our Mishnah says the korban is kosher. And I'll just say that one more time to make sure you all get it. Our Mishnah says korbanot that are tameh for the community are kosher. To say that, you need to say a combination of things. That tuma is dachui. It's not canceled, so we need the tzitz. And the tzitz for Rabbi Eliezer works to let you bring food on the mizbeach. Number 1. Second, even if you can't bring the food on the mizbeach, the fats on the mizbeach, because you lost them, you don't need them. Because just the fact that you brought the blood is kosher. So for Rabbi Eliezer, our Mishnah is glad kosher. For Rabbi Yeshua, you have 2 problems in our Mishnah. Problem number 1 is it's dachui, you need the tzitz, and the tzitz doesn't work for bringing the fats. So you can't. So if you can't bring the fats, well then you don't have a kosher korban, because you said yourself that blood and fats have to be together to make it kosher. Because you said
on the mizbeach, we're also talking about imurim, where that is.
I think we're not talking about imurim right now. I think we're probably imurim as well.
Okay.
That's it's all new to me, but it seems to me we're talking about the fats, which is the minimum. There might be no imurim here. For example, an oil might not have any imurim. I'm not sure about this right now. So that's what the Gemara is going to say right now. Hashta, second big line. We're doing good. I promise you, it took me 3 hours to prepare this. 3 hours. Hashta leima masnisin de lo ke Rabbi Yeshua. Now we can say, by the way, yesterday's Amoud, we're talking 20 minutes. It's half an hour. It's smooth sailing. So the problem is, somebody told me an amazing thing. When you take the guy do shiputzim, what's it called? The contractor. He gives you a price. Why is the price always bigger? Why is it? He never holds his price. Because the guy, what he does is he's not lying to you. He's not trying to trick you. It's like he once did a job where everything went perfect. So the quote he gave you actually came out to be right. Because there was no problems, there was no issues, everything was ordered on time, his guys showed up, there was no cancellations, everything fit in verse, everything was God kosher. So he's giving you the quote on everything perfect. But that happens only once in 100 jobs. So he's going on that job. It's like saying, how much time does it take to get to Breslov Center in the morning? How much time does it get to get to a place? You know the guy's always late? Why is he always late? Because he once got there in 20 minutes, so he thinks it doesn't take 20 minutes, it takes 40 minutes to get there. Once there was all the green lights and there was no traffic and everything was good. So why are you giving yourself 20 minutes to go? Give yourself 40 minutes to go. So he's saying here, if I say I have half an hour to prepare the daf because of one good daf, that's not, I have to give it a few hours, but not 3 hours. 3 hours is a blizzard. Fine. Hashta leima masnisin, second big line. Delo ki Rabbi Yeshua. Our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yeshua. Why? Dikevan de amar ba'inan tachti. Because according to Rabbi Yeshua, you need blood and you need meat. V'tzitz achilot no meratze, and the tzitz doesn't let you bring the meat. It doesn't work for achila. Echi ate betuma. You can't bring the korban and tuma. So our Mishnah says you bring the korban and tuma is not Rabbi Yeshua. The Gemara says no, you didn't understand Rabbi Yeshua. Afilu teima Rabbi Yeshua. Kasavar Rabbi Yeshua tzitz meratze ala olin. When he said it doesn't work for eating, we thought it doesn't work for all eating. Eating of the Beit HaMikdash, the Mizbech, and eating of Shmerel, the owner of the Korban or the Kohen. No, it works for the meat going on the Mizbeach. It just doesn't work for the Kohen to eat it. The Gemara says, Hatinach zvachim. Remember the Akdam I told you at the beginning of this year? That is okay to say for zvachim, but our Mishnah counted 5 things. Some of the things our Mishnah counted is the omer. And some of the things the Mishnah counted is the lechem apanim and the Beit HaMikdash for the Kohanim. Those have only for man. Remember what I told you at the beginning? A regular korban has 3 things. Blood, fats for the Mizbech, both for Hashem, eating for the man. Okay, so when Rabbi Eliezer says eating was not good, what he meant, it was the man, but the Mizbeach gets it, so you're good to go, you got a kosher korban. But that doesn't work for part of the Mishnah, because part of the Mishnah is only kemitzah. When it comes to the flour offering of the Omer, it's a flour, you take a little bit of the barley, and you sprinkle the barley on the Beit HaMikdash, and that's considered blood. There's no fats. The rest, there's only 2 parts. There's Beit Mikdash and man, not 2 for the Beit Mikdash. Blood. There's blood. There's only blood. So there's no eating. So you told me that eating isn't good. So how can you say that and for sure for the lechem apanim there's actually nothing for the mizbech at all. It's only man eating. The Kohen eats the whole bread. So what will you do for those 2 things? So the Gemara says, Hatinach. 5th big line. Hatinach zvachim di kaonin. Ella Omer u'shtei alechem delei konin ma'ikar ememar. What can you say for Rabbi Yeshua? Amar Achi Amar Rabbi Yeshua Nami deba'inan tarte bezvachim. When Rabbi Yeshua said you need 2, when he said you need both, it's only for zvachim. B'menachot no amar. He never said you need 2 for the menachot. So for the menachot he never said. So we're still good to go with Rabbi Yeshua. Because Rabbi Yeshua, when we said you can't eat, it's the man can eat, but the mizbeach can eat. And we said you need to eat, you need both, you need the 2 things, you need the blood and you need the eating, that's only for the zevach, not for the mincha. The mincha, the flour, you don't need that. No amar, ubi menachot, no amar, but we don't accept that. No amar, vatnan. We have a Mishnah. And this Mishnah can only seemingly be Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua. Vatnan, nitmeu shirayeya. So now we had the komets. We threw the komets on the mizbeach, which is the flour offering that's like the blood that goes on the mizbeach. And the rest over, what the man's allowed to eat, the shirayim, the kohen, if it became tameh, or it got lost, and there's a word over here to avdu, and over that little bet over that says, or it got burnt, the agot, it says kimidat. So what do we do with that? So this is Masechet Menachot. We know our machloket in Masechet Zvachim. But in Masechet Menachot, which is speaking about the flour offerings, what do we do with that? We know what Rabbi Eliezer says when you can't eat it. We know that Rabbi Yeshua says when you don't have the blood, when you have blood and you don't have the meat. We know what Rabbi Yeshua says. We know what Rabbi Eliezer says when you have the blood and you don't have the meat. That it's kosher for Rabbi Eliezer, not kosher for Rabbi Yeshua. But what do you do for menachot? So the Mishnah says, Kimidat Rabbi Eliezer kshera. Kimidat Rabbi Yeshua psula. So we say in Masechet Menachot, revert back to Zvachim to know what to do when you don't have the shirayim. When there's no eating for the man, so Rabbi Eliezer is standard, follows his original statement, which is kosher, and Rabbi Yeshua says not kosher. So how can you say Rabbi Yeshua says you only need 2 for the zevach, you also need it for the mincha? So the answer is kimidat v'lo kimidat. Yeah, it's like Rabbi Yeshua but not like Rabbi Yeshua. Kimidat Rabbi Yeshua de'mainan tarte. It's like Rabbi Yeshua that you need 2, v'no kimidat Rabbi Yeshua. De'iru Rabbi Yeshua bezvachim amar b'menachot no amar. No, because that Mishnah was not Rabbi Yeshua. It's just saying whoever's writing this holds like Rabbi Yeshua there. Whatever he holds there, he holds here, but Rabbi Yeshua doesn't hold here. Vilu hay tana savar afilu menachot umanu. So who is that? The Gemara says, well, who is that Mishnah? Who is that author? Who is he? Who's saying that? We never found somebody else more machmir than Rabbi Yeshua. Hay tana dekai gevate umechmir tfei minei. ועוד, תניא אמר רבי יוסי, רואה אני את דברי רבי אליעזר במנחות ובזבחים, ודברי רבי ישוע בזבחים ומנחות. דברי רבי אליעזר בזבחים שהיה אומר דם, אף על פי שאין שם בשר. ודברי רבי ישוע בזבחים שהיה אומר דם, אם אין דם אין בשר, אם אין בשר אין דם. דברי רבי אליעזר. במנחות שהיה אומר קומץ, אף על פי שאין שירים. ודברי רבי ישוע במנחות שהיה אומר, אם אין קומץ אין שירים, אין שיריים. And comments. I'll just repeat this quickly. What we just said is that we want to fit our Mishnah like Rabbi Yeshua. We seemingly cannot do that because Rabbi Yeshua said you need blood because you need blood and you need meat. And we know that Rabbi Yeshua says that tzitz doesn't let you have meat because he says you can't have achila. So our Mishnah can be Rabbi Yeshua. Yes, it can be Rabbi Yeshua. When Rabbi Yeshua says there's no eating, it's for the man, but there is for the mizbeach. So you have blood and meat, you're good. The problem with that is our Mishnah also has a mincha. Mincha is flour offering. And flour offering, you can't say there's blood and eating for the mizbeach, because there's only blood for the mizbeach in the kimitzah. There's no second part that the mizbeach gets to say that when he said that to say that it also gets the eating. There's no eating. So then we say, oh, Rabbi Yeshua never said that in Menachot. What he said that you need the blood and the eating of the mizbeach, that's only for the korban. It's not for the flour offering, and that we can say as well, because we have a clear Mishnah in Masechet Menachot that says, if you want to know what happens if the leftovers became tameh of the mincha, well, it's whatever Rabbi Eliezer said in Zvachim and Rabbi Yeshua said in Zvachim. Rabbi Eliezer said no good, and Rabbi Yeshua said good. So you see that Rabbi Yeshua says if it become tameh or burnt, the leftovers, it's not kosher mincha. So then we answer no. That author is not Rabbi Yeshua. It's just whatever Rabbi Yeshua would have said over there, he says over here. Whatever Rabbi Yeshua says in the zevach of the flat that the leftover is no good for the zevach. There's no eating of the mizbech for the zevach. So he's going to say the same thing in the flour. The Gemara doesn't accept that, because then who is it? If it's not Rabbi Yeshua, who is it? And then the last thing is we have a whole other thing. Rabbi Yossi says, bottom line is he says, I accept what Rabbi Yeshua said in the mincha, that if you have the kometz, but you don't have the achila of the person, if the rest become tameh, then it's not kosher. So we're saying back to square one. Seemingly our Mishnah can be Rabbi Yeshua. I know it's hard. Chazak Amoud. It's hard for me also.